My girlfriend and I always enjoyed weekend camping trips. We lived in Virginia's Appalachian region, so we frequently explored new spots in or near the mountains. Our weekdays were stressful with work, so these camping getaways were a much-needed break for us. When this incident occurred, we had already gone on numerous camping trips in the Appalachian Mountains, but none had concluded like this. It was a Saturday morning, and we opted for a small 3-mile trail leading to a secluded camping ground on a flatter section of the mountain. While unfamiliar with this particular spot, the abundance of positive reviews on Google led us to believe it was a popular trail in camping circles. We prepared our bags and loaded the truck with our camping gear before setting off. Despite the short 45-minute drive from our house, the rain intensified as we neared our destination. Rain was common in the mountainous region, so we were accustomed to it and didn't consider turning back. As we arrived at the trailhead, conveniently situated just off the roadside, we noticed only one other car parked nearby. Given the trail's popularity, we half expected a more crowded scene, but we were relieved it wasn't bustling. However, as we began unloading our gear, my girlfriend spotted something peculiar. The passenger door of the parked car was slightly ajar. We scanned the area for the owner but found no one in sight. Assuming it was an oversight, I approached and shut the door to prevent further rainwater from soaking the interior. Despite the passenger seat already being damp, we were glad to mitigate any further damage. After returning to our car to gather my belongings, we embarked on our journey down the trail. Conversation turned to the oddity of the open car door and how most people would likely notice the issue, considering it would prevent the vehicle from locking securely. Adding to the peculiarity was the fact that the car appeared to be a relatively new and expensive model. This detail only served to heighten our sense of unease. As the rain intensified, we hastened our pace towards the campsite, eager to set up our tent. It must have taken us around 2 hours to reach our destination, as the terrain was predominantly uphill. Upon arrival, our attention was drawn to a solitary tent already erected in the center of the level ground. It appeared rather compact, likely designed for just one person. Assuming its occupant sought refuge from the rain, we opted to pitch our tent in a remote corner of the site. We spent about an hour inside our tent, munching on the snacks we had brought and arranging our belongings to dry. Suddenly, amidst the pitter-patter of rain on the tent, we heard voices outside. The downpour drowned out their words, prompting me to unzip the tent flap and peek outside. I was startled to find 2 men crouched nearby, gazing at use from just a few feet away. However, their smiles and friendly introductions quickly eased my initial apprehension. They informed us that they had been camping in the middle tent for a few days. After exchanging introductions, I clarified that my girlfriend and I were only staying for the night. With their departure, I closed the tent flap and turned to my girlfriend, contemplating the encounter. The entire interaction felt unsettling, with the 2 men exhibiting peculiar behavior. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Notably, both men were clad in snug jeans and ordinary t-shirts, an unusual choice for outdoor activities. Moreover, their tent appeared far too compact to comfortably accommodate 2 adults for an extended camping trip, contrary to their claim of staying for several days. Doubts gnawed at us, leading us to leave the tent zipper slightly ajar, allowing us to monitor their movements cautiously. Another hour passed, and there was still no sign of anything out of the ordinary. In fact, there was no activity at all, leading us to speculate that the 2 men were possibly holed As darkness descended, we made the decision to retire for the night, preparing our sleeping bags within the confines of our tent. I secured the zipper shut and nestled beside my girlfriend, intending to rest. Before I knew it, sleep overcame me swiftly, and I slipped into unconsciousness without even realizing it. I awoke a few hours into the night, feeling the urge to use the bathroom. With the rain still pouring down, I grabbed one of my inexpensive plastic rain ponchos to shield myself from getting soaked. Venturing a few steps behind our tent and taking cover behind a nearby tree, I strained to hear voices amidst the sound of rainfall. Despite my efforts, it was challenging to pinpoint their source, leaving me feeling increasingly anxious. Casting my gaze in every direction, paranoia began to creep in, but I couldn't spot anyone nearby. Then, my attention was drawn to the small tent positioned in the center, where I noticed that its front zipper was left open. In the dimness of the night and amidst the relentless rain, visibility was poor, but I could discern that the small tent appeared unoccupied. However, remembering the men's claim of spending the night there, unease began to gnaw at me. Hastily returning to our tent, I roused my girlfriend from her slumber and relayed the unsettling discovery. Though visibly fatigued, her expression mirrored my growing concern. As we deliberated our next course of action, the sound of voices emerged from behind our tent, shattering the stillness of the night. Feeling increasingly uneasy, I realized that remaining in the tent was no longer a viable option. Urging my girlfriend to swiftly pack our belongings and be prepared to evacuate if necessary, I armed myself with a small pocket knife and ventured outside. Casting a wary glance towards the surrounding trees, my worst fears were confirmed when I spotted the two men from earlier lurking just a stone's throw away from our tent. A chilling sensation swept over me as I locked eyes with them, their impassive gazes devoid of any discernible emotion. It was an eerie sight. No flicker of fear or hesitation crossed their features. In that moment, a wave of apprehension washed over me, and I realized with chilling certainty that these men harbored sinister intentions. They exhibited no signs of trepidation in the face of confrontation. Rather, they seemed resolute and unwavering in their malicious intent. Moments later, my girlfriend's emergence from the tent jolted me out of my stunned state. Without hesitation, I urged her to flee, gesturing towards the trail leading down the mountain. Following her lead, I abandoned our belongings in the tent and bolted after her. Glancing back as we reached the periphery of the campsite, I observed the two men ominously lingering in the distance. To my astonishment, they made no attempt to pursue us, remaining rooted to the spot as silent spectators to our frantic escape. Their eerie presence only intensified our terror as we fled in sheer panic. We sprinted at full speed for about 10 minutes, fueled by adrenaline and sheer terror, before gradually slowing to a brisk walk for the remainder of the journey. Upon reaching our car, parked alongside the lone vehicle that had been there earlier, we were alarmed to discover that the passenger door was, once again, left ajar. Reacting swiftly, I hurriedly drove us to the nearest gas station, where we promptly contacted the authorities. Within minutes, police officers arrived at the scene, and we recounted the harrowing ordeal we had just experienced. Several days elapsed, during which we received disturbing revelations that only added to our dread. Upon investigation by law enforcement, it was discovered that the car parked near our campsite belonged to an elderly gentleman reported missing. Notably, All his belongings had been pilfered from the vehicle. Further scrutiny revealed that the tent erected at the campground also belonged to the missing man. Despite thorough searches, the two suspicious individuals we encountered were nowhere to be found. Authorities uncovered minimal evidence apart from their shoe prints, leaving many questions unanswered. Tragically, the elderly man remained unaccounted for, adding a somber layer to the already chilling events. To this day, his fate remains a mystery, shrouded in uncertainty and unanswered questions. The realization of how close we came to a potential catastrophe left both my girlfriend and me feeling nauseous. The gravity of the situation sank in as we contemplated the sinister possibilities. Despite our best efforts, the true intentions of those two men remain shrouded in mystery. Yet, given the circumstances, it's not hard to imagine the chilling possibilities. One thing is certain, the haunting image